Yes, sir. You already know what time it is. Time for Sports Talk with Naj, where we keep it real and authentic. Break down football, basketball, and soccer. So, hey, man, stay tuned. Follow us on the socials, and make sure you tell a friend. Yes, sir. We'll see you on the other side. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Naj. Hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend. Hope you spent it at a lake, at a barbecue, or getting together with your family. Definitely tragic was that shooting that happened in Chicago. Crazy world we living in nowadays, guys. But hope everybody had a nice and safe July 4th, and prayers and condolences go out to the families that lost their loved ones at that 4th of July parade in Chicago. So I take a quick moment of silence for that. All right, guys, let's keep it going. So, yeah, a lot to get into today. First and foremost, we're definitely going to be talking about USC and UCLA. So they're moving to the Big Ten Conference. This is a super mega deal. As you guys all know, USC and UCLA, were basically the brand of the Pac-12 conference for years. USC had their prime day and their prime in 2001 to about 2009 when they were constantly competing for college football championships and things like that. So to see them actually move into the Big Ten, I think says a lot for the Pac-12. Now we have to see if the other teams will follow suit with them, like the Stanfords, the Oregons, the Washingtons. We'll see what happens with them. But I think this is a big move. Big Ten saw this as an opportunity, and they're getting the second biggest television market in the country. So this is very big as far as just a revenue basis. And I think this is going to lead to more super conferences. You already got the SEC, who landed Texas and Oklahoma starting in 2025. And now we're seeing this big move. And it's actually rumored that the Big Ten is actually interested in other Pac-12 teams. So we have to see what kind of happens there. I'll get into more of that in a quick second. But yeah, just going over the deal. The winners, of course, is the Big Ten. The Big Ten and SEC has already separated themselves from the rest of college football. Honestly, now you got two super conferences, basically standing their lead. And I think, can you just imagine Penn State playing against UCLA in a prime game that's going to lead one of these teams going into the Big Ten championship, or in the middle of December, or not even late November, Ohio State hosting USC, and it's already a long flight, 2,000 plus miles to go from, Ohio or something all the way to California. So, I mean, I like it from an intrigue standpoint. Of course, college football is predicated into tradition, but man, I mean, we're gonna have more high quality, high profile matchups all year round, and we ain't gonna just be looking at SEC. We're going to be looking at the Big Ten now, and what matches they're going to have. What's going to happen with the Pac-12 now? At the ACC hasn't added any new teams. So it's just a lot of intrigue right now. And ACC is one of those kind of conferences that kind of gave the SEC at times, and even the Big Ten at times, run for their money a little bit. You would see it in some of the previous championships. Alabama played Clemson, they got the better half of them. But now where does that leave that conference? Where does that leave, Wake Forest now, who's an up-and-coming team? Where does that leave Clemson, who's been historically one of the better teams in the past decade in the ACC? Where does that leave Miami? What is the ACC going to do to kind of counteract these big moves that SEC and the Big Ten are making right now, as well as the Pac-12? What moves are they going to make? So I think it makes it very intriguing. And just as a report, got this from Bleacher Report. So Big 12 right now is involved in deep discussions about adding Pac-12 teams. Big 12 reportedly wants to add at least 4 teams and is targeting Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. Oregon and Washington are also in the mix to join the Big 12 as an 18-team conference per Dodd. And basically everything is on the table. Big 12 source told Dodd. So, if you guys don't know, Big 12 is a conference that Texas and Oklahoma is actually leaving. That has Kansas, used to have Texas, Oklahoma. It's usually one of the better conferences when it comes to college basketball. Trying to think of some other teams. Oklahoma State would be another team. So, those would be the teams that would go to the Big 12. Big 10 is more Midwest, you would say. Big 12 is more West Coast, almost, that kind of middle there. So I think very interesting. I can't wait to see what happens, what teams are going to be added to either conference. But I think it just adds more parity, man. I mean, I love it. I think it'll be more competitive. I think you see more Midwest teams now being able to land more college or high school level recruits that are coming from the California area. So I think it's great all around, man. And keeping it going with some more topics on discussion for today. We're going to be talking about some top tight ends in college football. So yeah, a lot of tight ends to talk about. I think number one right now in the game is Brock Bowers. He led the Bulldogs in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdown catches as a true freshman last season. He had multiple 100-yard games against UAB, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, and Alabama. He finished basically his dispute over Georgia's final 5 games. He finished first team All SEC and US Today All American. So I think this is a guy you got to keep your eye on. I mentioned last week kind of some of my top, I think, receivers in the game. And for Georgia, what's really going to come down to, like I said, what is Kirby Smart going to do? Is it going to be more run predicated, which they're kind of known for, or is he going to open up more so the offense? But probably Stetson Bennett as the presumptive quarterback to start for UGA. If he opens it up, this allows Brock Bowers actually to flourish and, even get more hype and get more, say the recent word, clout for himself going forward. So we'll see what they do this year. But, I think this is a tight end you definitely got to keep your eye on. I think, former four-star prospect, even had a touchdown pass against Michigan in their playoff victory last season. But I think this is a guy you got to keep your eye on. That's my number one. My number two is Michael Mayer. Of Notre Dame. He's a former 5-star prospect, led the Fighting Irish in receptions last season. He finished the year with third-team AP All-American honors, caught 9 balls for a season-high 120 yards and a touchdown in an opener at Florida State. In that game, we thought, oh, snap, Florida State might be back. But, that was a really intriguing opener last season. He hauled in 2 touchdown passes the following week over Toledo. But, yeah, this guy has eclipsed the century mark in receiving yards. Against Stanford as well. But I think he's a very impressive tight end for Notre Dame as they got a new regime going. Basically, Brian Kelly left for LSU. They got a new coach now, and I'm curious to see how, they're going to use this guy coming into the new season with a new head coach and a new system, pretty much, as Brian Kelly is no longer the head coach there. So that should be really interesting, to say the least. Another guy I'm keeping my eye on is Brett Carthay of Utah. He's a former 3-star prospect, caught 50 catches last season, led the Utes in receiving yards. He hauled in 2 touchdown passes and win over Arizona State. He also stockpiled a season-high 7 receptions against San Diego State. Not to mention a touchdown catch against BYU. He also had 118 receiving yards, in his first meeting against Oregon last season as well, and also finished the year second-team All Pac-12 honors. So I think this is a guy you got to keep your eye on for next season as well. This is a guy that I think will get a lot more production, a lot more balls thrown his way, especially with the reduction he had last season. It wasn't probably the best, but I think, being their main target, leaving the team in receiving yards, you should look forward to him next season having a phenomenal season. And to end out our list of top tight ends in the game right now is going to be Cameron Latu of Alabama. He was a Utah native, pretty much Bryce Young's safety net last year. He really has a great skill base. He makes catches look effortless and easy. He was tied on the Crimson Tide last year with 8 touchdown passes. He averaged around 15.7 yards per reception. Third on the team in receiving yards on a pretty deep roster when it comes to, receivers. He hauled in 2 touchdown passes in the season opener win over Miami. And, he also caught a touchdown against Ole Miss, New Mexico State, Cincinnati, and Georgia. So he had 5 catches for 102 yards in the national championship game as well, which was both season high. So look for this guy to be more used in the offense going into next season, as Bryce Young looks to be, another Heisman favorite going into next year. I believe he did win the Heisman last year. So I think this is a guy you definitely got to keep your eye on, a guy that should be great next year. And, yeah, that's my top 4. 4, Cameron Latu. 3, Brent Carthay. 2, Michael Mayer. And 1, Brock Bowers of Georgia. So look for these guys to have some great seasons next year. All right, last topic to kind of conclude for football before we get to basketball and soccer, of course, is going to be Demaryius Thomas. He was found to have stage 2 CTE at the time of his death. Very sad to see. I think this really, man, just shows the risk of playing football in And it brings it to reality. I hate to say it, but I think you see more parents preventing the kids from playing. Um, it's just something that's a part of the sport. I know NFL has put in measures for more safety. That's why you see the game not played how it used to be. No blindside blocks, no blindside hits. Not, basically hitting in the head. If you hit in the head, pretty much more than so, tossed in the game can happen in NFL too. And I definitely know in college football, if you are penalized for targeting, you're tossed out of the game. And then you miss the first half of the next game. So, this is crucial stuff, man. I know across the board they're trying to take more preventative measures to kind of stop this, but it's just sad to see, man. But I'm not really surprised because this has been showing up more into football players, and as this Brian just pointed out, actually, that a lot of players are living with this currently right now. So my biggest play for him is he's a great player in person. He went through a struggle without his moms, who was actually in prison, but he made a name for himself at Georgia Tech, and then he went to the Broncos and really showed out. Won a Super Bowl ring, 5-time Pro Bowler, and he really made a great thing of his life. I hate that it ended like this for him, and there's still no definitive cause of death yet that came from his autopsy. But this is just one of the reasons why the game again has changed so much, and I think he's trying to prevent this from the collegiate level, from the high school level, and from the NFL level as well. So I think you're going to just see more parents preventing their kids from playing. I think that's just the reality of the situation, and they're going to try to prevent this. So for me, rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas, and my prayers and condolences go out to his family and loved ones. And my biggest point is just for others, just to you see anybody that you care about that's struggling and going through difficulty, just reach out to him, man. You never know what that can do for somebody's life. One of the symptoms of CTE is like anxiety and depression. So you see a lot of times they kind of distance themselves. So if you see somebody acting kind of different or out of the norm, then say something, make yourself available. You just never know how far that can go and keeping somebody here, and I don't know I'm not going to say it was suicide because I don't know what his death was. But it's just a kind of a warning or caution just to reach out, man, and see if anybody needs help or see if anybody just needs a listening ear. You never know what that can do for somebody. And I know for me, I'm probably going to, if I do have kids, I'm probably going to limit them in playing football. I do love it as a sport and love watching it, but it's just until I can see some different evidence, I just don't think it's healthy, man. Seeing this in another former player that's only 33 years old, man, and lost his life, I think speaks a lot, man. And it's really dangerous. Of course, you can make millions of dollars, but at what cost, man? So, that's where I stand on with that. And hopefully, man, we could find a way to make it more safer, yet competitive, yet still fun to watch. It's not easy to do, but hopefully we can do that. But man, that's going to conclude our NFL section, guys, and college football section as well. Now, some more stuff to get into, man. NBA, man, we had a free agency frenzy that began this past week. A lot of moves, man. First and foremost, man, so I'll start off with some major signings. So Bradley Beal agreed to a 5-year, $251 million deal to remain in Washington, a $250 million deal. Definitely shocked there that he stayed. Definitely thought he was going to leave, but hey, you got to get your bag, got to get your money. Devin Booker agreed to a 4-year, $224 max super extension to stay in Phoenix. John Morant agreed to a 4-year, $226 million deal to stay with the Grizzlies. Nikola Jokic signed the richest deal in NBA history with a 5-year, $264 million super max contract extension. Karl-Anthony Towns signed a 4-year, $224 million super max extension. And then Brunson signed a 4-year, $104 million extension with or deal with the New York Knicks. Surprising there. Hawks traded for DeJounte Murray to pair him along with Trae Young. Gave up Danilo Gallinari and a couple first-round draft picks and a pick swap to land him. Levine stayed with the Chicago Bulls and re-signed with the 5-year, $215 million contract extension. Gary Payton II actually left the Golden State Warriors to sign a 3-year, $28 million deal, according to Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. I think this is a big loss for the Warriors. I'll say this in a couple episodes why I think this is a big loss for them, down the line. And then Detroit re-signed Marvin Bagley to a 3-year, $37 million deal. PJ Tucker signed a 3-year, $33.2 million deal with the Sixers. And then Anthony Simon signed a 4-year, $100 million contract with the Blazers after a breakout season with 17.3 points. And Kevon Looney signed a 3-year, $25.5 million deal with the Warriors. And then all but least, we had a big major trade between the Pacers and the Celtics. Malcolm Brogdon was sent to the Celtics for Daniel Theis, Aaron Naismith, Nick Stauskas, and also Malik Fitz. And Jawan Morgan, a 2023 first-round draft pick. So what really stood out to me was the other trade was Rudy Gobert was sent to the Minnesota Timberwolves as well for a couple of key players. I think Malik Beasley and a couple other Timberwolves players, Patrick Beverly. For me, what really stood out, though, was basically, the major contract extensions. Zach LaVine staying, the Knicks getting Jalen Brunson, Ja getting his money, Zion Williamson getting his money. I didn't mention him. Zion Williamson got a 5-year, $231 million deal. Definitely thought he might have been on his way out. But, the Pelicans got a nice core there, man. They got Williamson, Ingram, and then McCollum. So this is a team that you should see make the playoffs next year. Should be able to contend. I think they can get easily a top 4 seed next season. But that really stood out. And the trades, I think the Celtics got better getting Malcolm Brogdon. They might not start him, but I think he'd be a great piece when they do their closing lineups to go along with Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then probably Robert Williams. They have a nice 5 and out now, I think, in Boston. They really were missing that point guard position. Now, it's not to say that Marcus Smart can't play. He can. But I think to have a true facilitator, somebody that can create shots for himself and for others, I think goes a long way. And then Marcus Smart can focus more on just shooting and more so his great defensive prowess because, he won Defensive Player of the Year last year. So great deal there. Now, for the Hawks, I thought it was a good move to get DeJounte Murray. I don't think that makes them necessarily contenders. I would say their ceiling is a top 5 seed. I think at best they get a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. I have to see how well they play off of each other. Trae Young is kind of a guy that needs the ball in his hands. DeJounte Murray is great. A one-time All-Star, can facilitate well, averaged 21 last season. But I'm just not sold. I thought it was a good move, but, we'll see how it folds are going with, John Collins, if they decide to keep him or not. They got Kevin Huerter was traded actually for a couple of players. They got rid of Kevin Huerter recently, the Hawks did. So curious to see how this lineup looks next year. But I say their ceiling is a top 5 seed. That doesn't mean they can't contend because they were, I think, a 5 seed 2 years ago. And they knocked the Knicks out of the playoffs and made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll see how they see where it goes. But I think it is good that Trae got another scorer alongside him that can consistently put the ball in the hole. It can shoot as well. Those are some of the free agency moves that stood out to me that I kept my eye on. And then last but not least, before I conclude this section, I don't know what Minnesota was really doing. I thought they had a nice core there and Karl Anthony Towns. They still have D'Lo, of course, and Anthony Edwards, but why did they get Rudy Gobert? It just didn't make sense for me. You got Karl Anthony Towns there. To me, I don't think you could play them two together. I don't. I think playing those two together would be disastrous, in my opinion. Rudy Gobert would get torched in the perimeter. And not that Karl Anthony Towns can't play on the perimeter. I mean, he can, but, you're going to have to put Rudy Gobert more in as a rim protector. And defenses are going to pretty much try to expose him, and I think you can't really play both of them 5 out. I don't think that's optimal for success. I think you got to find a way, to kind of hide one of them, in my opinion. But yes, so I just didn't like the move, particularly landing, Rudy Gobert. I don't know how that makes Minnesota better. Like, they needed another wing, in my opinion, to go along with Anthony Edwards. Like, they're both great, but none of them are known as defensive players between Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. So I just think landing him wasn't really the best move, in my opinion. I think they're going to get exposed more defensively now. But this is a young contending team. I think it was 7th seed last year. They gave, Minnesota, not Minnesota, they gave Memphis a great run in the postseason and played them, I thought, very well. And I think Anthony Edwards, who averaged 21 last season, will only get better. So, yeah, for me, I didn't understand the move. That's one move that really stood out to me. We'll see how it plays out. But, that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But keeping it moving, we had actually Kevin Durant actually requested trade from the Brooklyn Nets. I think it's safe to say that this move to Brooklyn was a failure. I hate to say it, but I think it's safe to say that. Of course, man, he's an all-time great. Kevin Durant is. That's unquestionable. He's all-time great. I think it's safe to put him top 20 all time. It's one of the best scorers the game's ever seen. He can give you 26 plus in his sleep, on 45 to 50% shooting with about 5 rebounds a game. I just think he got tired. And I think he was like, okay, Kyrie's probably not going to be here long term because he only opted into the $36.5 million player option. And I don't think the Nets want Kyrie long term. I think that's what that move really said. I think he's like, okay, well, then I got to figure out what's my next move then. If Kyrie's not going to be here, then what am I going to do? So I think that's what's kind of his thought process of, I'm saying of that. And I think it's safe to say it's a failed experiment. He's unquestionably the best player on the team. And all they got to show for is one playoff series victory. And, he left Golden State 3 years ago. And he doesn't have really much to show for it. And then Golden State just won another championship without Kevin Durant. So it's like, dang, like, oh, wow. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, and one of his close buddies and friends kind of convinced him to come to Brooklyn with him and, go chase a chip and go win the chip. And right now, it's not a lot to show for it. Now, I might want to bash Kevin Durant. I think he's, like I said, all-time great, one of the best to ever play. And I think he can win a chip as the best player, or as you say the term, as a bus driver. I don't think that's any issue at all for him. I think he can definitely do that. What the problem lies is he needs his teammates to fully buy in. He needs whoever his co-star to buy in and be present. And that's what he really had at Golden State. He had Steph Curry, who was a selfless superstar, that put the team in front of everything else. And, Kyrie, again, great player. I'm saying phenomenal on the basketball court, great charitable efforts. But a lot of times you saw maybe not so much. He took it, I won't say he didn't take it as serious. It seemed as though his mind wasn't fully engaged into playing, in my opinion. He almost treated it sometimes, you could say, it's a part-time job. So I think you just need somebody to really buy in. I think you will see Kevin Durant win the chip. Now he made some of his destinations preferred as Miami and Phoenix. I think Phoenix would be a good move. But, basically Brooklyn wants a haul for KD. Brooklyn wants another young star. And who can really offer the best package is the best question. We have to see. I mean, Miami could offer probably Tyler Hero. I don't think they want to give up Bam Adebayo, but probably Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, maybe Kyle Lowry and a couple draft picks. Phoenix can offer Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and a couple draft picks maybe. But I think, like what I saw today, Golden State maybe has the best package for KD. They can offer, Andrew Wiggins, who's an all-star. They can offer Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, and draft picks. But if I'm Golden State, like, it's not that I wouldn't want Kevin Durant, but I wouldn't offer all that for Kevin Durant. Not saying he's not worth it, but you've already built a team that can win with him and win without him. You don't necessarily need him. I would put my money more into the young core because Kevin Durant is 33. Curry's 34. Draymond, I think, is 33. Clay's 32 or about to be 33. So it's like you're giving up almost your team that's going to be there when Curry and Clay and Draymond go off into the sunset. So it's almost like you got to think like, okay, what are we really doing here? Now, of course, anybody's going to be interested in Kevin Durant. They say over half the teams are, of course, this is Kevin Durant. But if you're Golden State, you got to think about what we just built. We just won a title without him again and prove that we really, great player, but we really didn't need him. And we got a young core here that could be really dangerous in the next couple of seasons. So if I'm Curry or if I'm in the front office, I'm like, let's just stick with what we got, and allow, somebody else to take them. Because I still think that young core is going to be there when they're off into the sunset and they can still grow and flourish around even Curry still being the best player. So, for Durant, I think the best situation would probably be Phoenix, in my opinion. Chris Paul would be in contention for another ring now. Of course, a few years ago, they were in the NBA Finals, fell just short, lost to the Bucks in 6. But, Booker's a nice young star. And you pair him with Kevin Durant and CP3. If that was to happen, I don't know if Brooklyn's going to accept that. They might have to facilitate a three-team trade potentially to add some more assets in there for Brooklyn for them to accept it. But if they can land him, I think that'd be a great move for Phoenix, and that puts them right back in contention for a title. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts on it. I really was surprised. I thought after Kyrie re-signed or did that 1-year player option, I thought he was going to be all in and like, okay, hey, we got another year to go at this. Let's see what happens. Give a Kyrie another year to prove himself. Not from a basketball perspective, but just being there, being present, gives him another year of that. You get to see, along with him, Ben Simmons, see what he's going to look like now, and then Kevin Durant. I thought it'd be a good core team that was probably a preseason favorite to win it all. So we'll see what happens, but I know they're probably not going to make any maneuvers anytime soon. It might be see a trade right before the season or during the All-Star break. Not really sure, but that's my thoughts on him requesting a trade. Now, another topic I want to talk about today is why taking a bunch of superstars and putting them on one team doesn't necessarily always work. We see this a lot in the NBA, and some scenarios where it has worked out is like Miami Heat with LeBron and D Wade, Golden State with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and the Lakers in 2001 with Kobe and Shaq, or in the late 1990s with Kobe and Shaq. Superstar, is a term that's really thrown out a little too easily nowadays, but there's more to it. In my opinion, what really makes a superstar is someone who can make the teammates around them better, and they can also carry a team to the postseason without having any other significant stars or superstars on the team. So and this is more of a cautionary tale to GMs. So if you're a GM, you got to be cognizant of that. You got to be really think, who am I bringing into my franchise? You got to really look for those selfless players, those players that are team oriented. We've seen kind of in this Brooklyn situation, disaster transpire and unfold. So James Harden requested a trade out of Brooklyn, gets traded to Philly. Kyrie opted to a 1-year player option when his other options, that were available didn't really pan out. You have Kevin Durant, unquestionably probably a top 3 player in the game right now, requested trade. So, but can you say as a franchise, Brooklyn really did anything wrong? No. They brought in players that Brooklyn wanted. They brought in DeAndre Jordan. They got Blake Griffin. They gave KD the max money. You know what I'm saying? They gave them Steve Nash as a coach. So can you really say Brooklyn did anything wrong? No, they didn't. It just didn't work out. Sometimes, stuff like that happens. But, they just went along with what their stars wanted. So that's why I say you have to be really cognizant of what stars you bring in, because it may not necessarily work, honestly. And, to say they underachieved is putting it lightly, I would say. This is supposed to be a team that was supposed to have a title. Once they assembled James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, everybody was saying championship. And look what happened. The team dissipated, and they traded Harden. Now KD wants to trade, and Kyrie looks like he wants to be on his way out and go to potentially the Lakers with LeBron and reunite with him. So, this is a team, not many people say this, but Karis LeVert, they had a good bench. They had Joe Harris. This was a team a few years ago. You thought, okay, this team might be on the come up. This team's competitive. They lost in the first round or whatever in the playoffs a few years ago. But now it's if you trade KD and then Kyrie, let's say, goes to LA, you have to blow it up again, and at what cost? It's you almost have to think as a GM, maybe sometimes sticking with the young cats, sticking with the young bucks, because sometimes even the established players give you more headaches than the young players will. Young players more than likely are more willing to listen, more willing to hear what you got to say, as far as from coaching perspective as well. So you need good coaching, man, to win championships. I don't care what anybody say, no matter how great the player is. You need good coaching to win a chip. It's just the bottom line. And so if you're a GM, you really need your stars, one, to buy in, be leaders, selfless, and be team-oriented. and if you want your team to win titles. So good examples of this nowadays, you got Steph Curry. He's demonstrated this throughout his career. You know, being the star player, being the superstar, being, recently in his finals the most consistent scoring threat, standing up for his teammates, taking a back seat almost to KD when he came in, allowing him to flourish as the best player on the team. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo is another player. Think about it. Drafted by Milwaukee. Same thing with Steph. Both drafted by their presumptive teams. Antetokounmpo could have easily left. He could have been a headache and been like, okay, there's numerous of playoffs where they lost, and you thought, they may never get over the hump. They lost to the Heat. They lost to the Celtics. Numerous of times, you thought, oh, this team is never going to get over the hump. But he stayed the course. They traded for Drew Holiday from the Pelicans. It still had the core of Middleton. And they got certain pieces in there to help it work. They had PJ Tucker at the time, Bobby Portis, But that's why I respect Giannis so much is, he always has that mindset of, oh, hey, I'm going to stay and I'm going to be loyal to the team that took the bet on me. All I care about is winning. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help my team win. Now, of course, this year they came up short, but they didn't have Middleton. And I think Middleton is a great piece for them that really adds that ISO scorer when teams try to double up on Giannis when he tries to go to the paint. So, they'll be back next year. They'll probably be even better next year. So watch out for them next year as well. But that's what you really need as a GM. You need those kind of players that are selfless, put the teams first, and really wants to win. And that's led to Giannis having multiple MVPs, a finals MVP, multiple defensive player of the year trophies. He cares and he wants to be the best or be his best self. And these are the kind of guys you want to bring in when you're trying to contend for a title. Not necessarily guys that only care about themselves or are divas or drama laden. So for GMs, keep that in mind, man. Really do your research and, okay, hey, let me reach out to this other GM. Hey, how was he with you? Did you have any issues or problems off the court, on the court? How was he in the locker room with teammates? How did he lead a group of men? These are all good questions to ask yourself when deciding, okay, hey, are we going to sign this player in free agency? More than just your skill level, because then you see potentially situations where you have to break it up again and then restart back over. You're seeing that in Brooklyn. You're probably going to see it in Utah. And that actually leads me to my next topic to conclude basketball. The best landing spot for Donovan Mitchell to me is the Miami Heat. Why I say that? Because they have a great coach in Erik Spoelstra, who they've just been, knocking on the door, just can't get through. Been so close. Went to the finals in the bubble, lost in 6. This past season, went 7 games with the Celtics, was almost a shot away from going. If Jimmy Butler hits that shot, who says they don't win that game and go to the finals? What they're missing is another star. They got Jimmy Butler, but too many times we've seen him have to put the scoring load on his back with little to minimal help. Now they've had good pieces in Strus and Hero and Laurie, but they're not consistent. And I think that's why you should make the trade for Donovan Mitchell. Trade a Tyler Hero. I know fans are going to come from me and say, why would you trade Tyler Hero? He was 6 man of the year. You averaged 21 points. Yeah, he's a great seasoned player. But when playoffs come, he's really inconsistent. Now, I'm just talking about the first couple of series when they played the Sixers and they played the Hawks. I'm not even talking about when he got hurt. Injury, that's different. I'm not even coming for the injury perspective. I'm specifically talking about early in the postseason. They needed somebody that's going to be consistent. And right now, in his sleep, Donovan Mitchell is averaging 26 points, 5 assists, 4 boards. He gives that on a nightly basis as being the primary scorer. Now, we have to see if that'll fit with Jimmy and see who's going to be a primary scorer. But then that allows Jimmy to, more so predicated in driving and getting to his mid-range. Donovan Mitchell can shoot too. So then that spaces the floor as well. And then you add that in the core trio with Bam Adebayo, you got a pretty good roster that I think that can possibly contend. So that's really what Miami's missing, that second star, I think, alongside Jimmy. Now, Bam is good, but he really shrunk when it came to the Eastern Conference Finals. He really wasn't his best self, But if you add Mitchell, that takes the pressure off Bam, and allows another scorer alongside Jimmy, and you got a better flowing offense. Now, of course, they already surrounded Jimmy around shooters, which is really good. but you got to surround another star. And those are the three. I would not trade Bam Adebayo. I would keep him, but I would trade Hero, Robinson, a couple draft picks, and Lowry to get him. Yes, I would do that. And I think that's when you'll see the decision of the Miami Heat and possibly even winning a title. That's how good I think Donovan Mitchell is. And if you're Utah, if you trade Gobert to Minnesota and get a couple wing players, and then the week before you trade Russell O'Neal to the Nets, as Brian Windhorst pointed out, kind of a questionable move, just blow it up. It's just time to blow it up now. There's no point in keeping him. Trade Gobert, trade Russell O'Neal. You're not going to have the pieces content. You're probably going to be a bottom franchise next year. So why even keep him? Get some assets and just rebuild, blow it up, find out what you can get. But yes, to me, Miami Heat is the best landing spot, I think, for him, and a place I think he'll flourish. So that's what I got for you guys. That's going to conclude the basketball section. And now we got some soccer, man. So yeah, man, without further ado, let's get into some of these soccer moves we had this past week. So Ronaldo, once out of Manchester United, is also interested in joining Chelsea. So in his 38 appearances last year for Manchester United, he scored 24 goals. Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain are also muted as possible destinations for the legendary player. Sources have told ESPN. Also, Jorge Mendes, who is the Ronaldo's representative, has reached out to Chelsea's chairman Todd Boehly. If you guys don't know who Todd Boehly is, he actually owns the team now. Made a bid for Chelsea this past season, and he owns the team. So Chelsea has been told that Manchester United forward could be willing to join them. Club has just decided whether to make a formal offer. Sources have told ESPN. Ronaldo has informed United of his desire to leave Old Trafford in pursuit of a Champions League football. So there's a few options realistic for Ronaldo, who makes around $500,000 a week, which is insane. But yeah, overall, I am a Chelsea fan, so I do like the move. They haven't offered, of course, anything for him yet, so we'll see. And I know that Tuchel kind of has a certain strategy he wants to implement and kind of wants to restructure his whole forward line. So it may or may not work. We have to see what kind of happens. But I know that Todd Boehly has kind of been saying that he's going to allow Tuchel to land up to at least 6-7 players this offseason. So I think to land him would be good, but we'll see what happens. He might be more so focused on younger players and reshaping the roster, when more so Ronaldo's at 37. Of course, still legendary player, scored 24 and 38 appearances, but he may sort of be looking for something particular at that forward spot and attacking spot instead of Ronaldo. But we'll see. I do like the interest that Chelsea has, and they're trying to restructure the roster. So we'll see what they end up doing. They did make a bid for Raphinha last week, and then they are also interested in Raheem Sterling, as I mentioned in the other podcast. So we'll see what happens, man. But I don't mind the move. I will say that. Now, another move we had Eriksen joined Manchester United on a 3-year deal. He spent the second half of the season at Brentford, scored once in 11 games. He did have a chance to re-sign with Brentford, but chose Manchester United instead. Tottenham also had an interest in Eriksen, but that kind of fell through, and he becomes Erik ten Hag's second signing of the summer. In addition to 22-year-old left back Tyrell Malacia from Netherlands. So we'll see kind of what happens. But I think it's a good move for Manchester United, who midfield last year was terrible and the defense was pretty terrible. So, they're trying to restructure that midfield and that back line. And I think this goes a long way in getting them better next season and preventing, defensive lapses and goals as well. So I think overall, a great move for Manchester United, and we'll see what other moves they can make. Hopefully, I know they're trying to re-sign Ronaldo for another deal, but he does want out. But we'll see what kind of happens and what they do. Any pressing moves. They're also interested in Frenkie de Jong as well from Barcelona. But we'll see what happens as the summer begins to heat up and the season is really around the corner. Only about another month and a half left before Prem starts up again. And last move, basically, to conclude our soccer section for today is going to be Gabriel Jesus joining Arsenal. 5.5 years at Manchester City. He begins a new chapter in his Premier League career at 25 years of age. He's completed a $45 million transfer to Arsenal this summer. So basically, he signed with them when he was 19 at Manchester City for around $30 million. As you see, his value has definitely went up. And when he started at the Etihad, he was an energetic, versatile forward. He scored 26 goals in 67 appearances in his boyhood club before joining City. But he leaves now scoring 95 goals in 236 games in all competitions, and also registered 46 assists. So, when he first started, he was more so a specialized kind of goal scorer, but now he has a more well-rounded game where he can really play on either flank now or even in the middle. So have to definitely give credit to Pep, who's one of the legendary, legendary coaches and managers out there that really helped him hone on his game and help him get better. And I think that's why you're seeing him kind of leave now and go to a different team. And as Manchester City actually signed Erling Haaland this summer, I think this was a great move for him. And I think, he's going to really flourish at Arsenal. He leaves Manchester City while getting 4 Premier League title wins, 1 FA Cup, 3 EFL Cups, and a run to the 2021 Champions League final. So, to me, great move for Arsenal to land him. I think he will flourish in his role. I think he'll have more playing time, more PT going into next season. He'll be more of the focal point of the offense and attacking end. So, great move for Arsenal. And happy for Gabriel Jesus, to say the least, man. But that's going to conclude our soccer section. And last but not least, we got some miscellaneous topics today. I'm going to be reacting to the Israel Adesanya fight. And also I'm going to be reacting to giving you guys a Braves update. So far right now, the season speaks on Tuesday. So, Israel Adesanya won in a decision, unanimous decision. It did leave a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. I thought it was more caution he fought with than anything. He's a great striker, a terrific striker at that. But it was disappointing. Like, we had great fights leading up to it, like the Alexander Volkanovski fight versus Max Holloway. I mean, he outclassed him, but it was more intriguing than that one was. He was toying with him. But this one, he won by unanimous decision. The judge scored it 49-46, 49-46, and 50-45 Adesanya. But it just left a lot to be desired. Adesanya, he has superiority in striking. He basically did a great job with his jab. He mixed in some kicks and some timing with Jarrett. But the crowd really grew restless. It wasn't thrilling action. Honestly, it wasn't thrilling at all. And, it was marked by some boos and fans holding up lit up smartphones instead. So, he did outstrike Jared Cannonier 163-141 and 116-90 in significant strikes. But for me, Cannonier wasn't really aggressive enough in his best attacks. They were more sporadic, and it was cut off by Adesanya immediately. In his attempt to wrestle him, it was unsuccessful as well, and it just left more to be desired, in my opinion. I thought that it could have been a better fight. Hopefully, his next fight will be more intriguing. They'll pair him with Alex Pereira in the next fight. At least it'll be a little bit more entertaining. But for all the hype that UFC 276 had, all the stars being there, Shaq, Joe Burrow, Mel Gibson, and some of the fighters being there, I just thought it kind of disappointed. I definitely thought it could have been better. His last couple of fights just hasn't been as entertaining, for me in Adesanya. Of course, he's a terrific fighter, but we need a little bit more pizzazz, a little more rah-rah, a little more, flair. Like, that was really what was missing. Because, like, the other fights, I was excited. I went and watched Fight Night at one of my friend's house, and it was fun. But when I got to that fight, I was just like, it's not entertaining. Like, it's not getting me out of my seat. It just felt like a normal fight. It felt like a sparring match almost. So hopefully the next fight will be better. Shout out to Adesanya for winning. But as by the boos and the lack of thrilling action, you saw fans who just weren't thrilled with the fight. Man, that's where it stands out with the fight. That's what I think. Hopefully we'll get a better fight for UFC 270 or the next UFC fight that he has. And all right, so to conclude for today, we have a Braves MLB update. Right now, man, Dansby Swanson having a great season. He looks like a National League MVP candidate right now, and he's doing his thing, man. He tallied over 2 key doubles and Braves 5-run second inning during a 6-3 win over the Cardinals yesterday on 4th of July at Truist Park. And Wright also had a great pitching performance. 4 solid innings, 2 hour 30-minute rain delay. Denied his bid to join the Astros, Justin Verlander, and Dodgers, Tony Gonsolin, as the only MLB pitchers with 10 wins. But overall, he had a great performance in his 4 solid innings. For the Braves, last year they weren't very good. They were 41-44 before they turned around their season. But right now they stand at 47-34 right now. They're only 3.5 games behind the New York Mets for that NL East division crown. And they've won 24 of the past 30 games. So right now, they're sitting at a good space right now. They've been playing well, and this is a team to keep your eye on. They actually currently hold one of the NL wild card spots right now in the season, and they have more than enough games to make ground with the New York Mets to contend for the division crown. So great turnaround to the season when they started sub 500 and weren't performing very well. Looked like they were missing Freddie Freeman a lot after basically he departed and went to the Dodgers, but have to say overall, they're having a pretty good season. So hopefully they can keep it going. And a great 6-3 win the other night against the Cardinals. And I think they're going to be in contention for a playoff spot definitely this season. So great run for the Braves, honestly. But yeah, man, that's going to conclude us for today. Hope you guys like the topics we talked about today. Got a little bit of MLB in there, a little bit of UFC, some soccer, some basketball, some football. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe below. If you ever want to join the show, let me know. Follow me on my social handles at Najee Wilk on Twitter and Instagram. And comment below, man, what you guys saw of the UFC 276 fight. Was it thrilling to you or did it kind of disappoint? I know I was disappointed. And also comment what you think about these NBA free agency moves, man. What are these good moves for your teams? And what do you think about the players? Do you think this will pan out and help these players in contention for a title or possibly a trophy? Let me know in the comments below. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.